He wanted to rip your clothes off at the beginning, so his desire didn't disappear. Something else did. If sex in your relationship has quietly dropped to once a week or even less, most people blame libido, or stress, hormones, age, routine. But what if the real reason has nothing to do with sex at all? Now stick with me because this one might sting a bit. But if you've been feeling confused, unwanted, quietly rejected, it might finally explain what's been happening. And I want to say this clearly up front. This is not about shaming men, and it's not about blaming women. It's about something far more uncomfortable. What happens to desire when emotional connection slowly disappears? When couples say, well, we're only having sex about once a week now, what they're usually describing isn't a sex problem. It's a distance problem. Because desire doesn't just disappear randomly. It fades when emotional safety erodes and effort drops. When presence disappears and connection is replaced with comfort. A lot of men don't consciously decide, well, I'm going to stop showing up in this relationship. They decide something quieter. Maybe I'll go to the pub. Perhaps I'll stay busy. I need to switch my brain off and deal with this later. And sex slowly becomes collateral damage. Not because he doesn't find her attractive, but because intimacy requires engagement and comfort requires very little. Let's talk about why this so often happens with avoidant men and women. Well, there's another layer here that matters, and if you've been watching my channel for a while, this might click instantly. This pattern shows up constantly with avoidant men. At the beginning of the relationship, sex is frequent, charged, intense. It's easy, and that's because early intimacy doesn't feel threatening to an avoidant person. There's no expectation yet, no responsibility, no pressure to sustain closeness. But as the relationship deepens, something shifts. Sex stops being just desire, and it starts symbolizing connection. And for an avoidant nervous system, connection can feel like pressure, loss of autonomy, expectation, responsibility. So instead of saying, I'm feeling overwhelmed by closeness, it does something quieter. It pulls back from intimacy. Not consciously, not maliciously, but predictably. And sex is often the first thing to go because sex is one of the most emotionally exposing forms of closeness. So when sex drops to once a week, it's not about libido at all. It's about an avoidant system trying to regulate itself by creating distance. For a lot of women, sex isn't just physical. It's reassurance. It's closeness. It's being chosen. So when it starts fading, the thought isn't, he doesn't want sex. It's, he doesn't want me. And that hits deeply. Especially for anxious or emotionally attuned partners, when sex gets taken off the table, it doesn't just feel disappointing. It feels like rejection without words. Like affection without conditions. Like love being rationed. And the cruel part? You often don't even complain. Because you don't want to pressure him, or make him feel inadequate, or push him further away. So you go quiet, and carry it, alone. Here's the part that men never articulate. Some men trade intimacy for comfort. They know subconsciously that if they show up less, if they emotionally withdraw, if they stop engaging, sex will probably reduce. And part of them accepts that trade. Because comfort feels safer than connection. Connection requires effort, presence, vulnerability, responsibility. So instead of addressing the emotional distance, they tolerate a quieter relationship. And they convince themselves, that's just how long-term relationships are. If you're nodding right now, drop a heart in the comments. You're not imagining this, and you're not alone. Here's something men rarely get told. Most women don't get in the mood because you want sex. They get in the mood because they feel emotionally seen, valued, safe, and desired outside of the bedroom. When a man is present, caring, communicative, desire often follows naturally. But when he disappears emotionally, sex doesn't feel inviting. It feels disconnected, transactional, empty. So it's not that she's broken, and it's not that he's cruel. It's that desire can't survive in emotional neglect. Let's talk about when sex becomes a symptom and not the problem. Well, this is where things get really painful. Because by the time couples start talking about sex, the relationship has usually been struggling for quite a while. Sex becomes the battleground, but not the real issue. The real issue is he stopped showing up, and then she stopped feeling wanted, and resentment quietly replaced affection. And once that dynamic sets in, sex can't revive the relationship. Only connection can. So the real question isn't, how do we have more sex? It's, are we actually connected anymore? Because a relationship where intimacy feels optional, effort feels inconvenient, and desire feels one-sided isn't just going through a dry spell. It's asking both people to tolerate less than they need. If this video put words to something you've been carrying for months, hit like. Drop one word in the comments that describes how it feels right now. And subscribe if you want more honest conversations like this. No fluff, no blame, just truth. You deserve to feel wanted, not tolerated. And we're going to keep talking about the things nobody says out loud.